Hello, BookTube. I have another bookshelf tour for you. This is the fourth bookshelf of the thin east wall bookcase. And I realized when I was looking at the shelf preparatory to making this video sorry about this is the actual bookcase itself. I was going to put the camera on the other side so this wouldn't block half the screen, but then I realized that if I did that, you wouldn't be able to see it. Everything would be backlit. You wouldn't be able to see any details of the books that I'm holding up. So, but I realized when I was looking at this shelf preparatory to making this video that when I said last time that the shelf we looked at last time was the only one that would have a theme, it turns out that was an alternative fact. There is a theme that governs the rest of the books on this bookcase, and it's biography. They're all biographies. But that's nothing you haven't dealt with on this channel before, so you're shock tested to it. And there aren't many of them because these shelves are small. So first we'll deal with the transverse books as usual, and the first one of those is something we've seen on this channel before. This is John Gardner's Life of Chaucer. He's a novelist, but he was also a medievalist, and he wrote this is a great biography of Chaucer. And the reason that I've mentioned it on this channel before is because of how it ends. It ends on Chaucer's deathbed. He was writing to the end with his young assistant Lewis. When we get this paragraph, when he finished, he handed the quill to Lewis. He could see the boy's features clearly now, could see everything clearly, his whole soul in his eyes. Another line out of some old poem, he thought sadly, and then ironically, more sadly yet, farewell my book and my devotion. Then in panic he realized, but only for an instant, that he was dead, falling violently toward Christ. It just doesn't make any sense, but it's beautiful, and you need a novelist to write that kind of thing. Now the next book is something also that's come up on this channel before. This is Theodore Rex by Edmund Morris. This is the middle volume in his 3-volume work on President Roosevelt. The first volume was The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt that everybody loved, and then the second book was this one, and then the third one was Colonel Roosevelt with the post-White House years. This is the one with Theodore Roosevelt in power, and it is my favorite of the three. I think it just crackles on every page. I just love it. Then we deal with the books on the shelves themselves, and we can start with this one. I think I've shown this on this channel before. This is Mountbatten by Philip Ziegler. And I got it for 2 different reasons. It's in this room for 2 different reasons. The first is Ziegler himself, who's a great biographer. That's a theme you'll see in a lot of the books in this room, is that a lot of them are here because of the author. He's a great biographer. He's also a great historian. His history of the Black Death in Europe is the best one ever written. And that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that I realized a while ago, a few years ago when I got this and brought it in here, that I'd kept getting the book and getting rid of it, getting it and getting rid of it, getting it and getting rid of it. And I realized why that was. That even though I'm not particularly fond of Mountbatten as a person, I love the book. And as soon as I realized, as soon as I made that moment of clarity, I decided, the next time you see it at the Brattle, get it and just keep it. So I did. The next one is something we've seen on this channel before. This is The Last Lion by William Manchester. This is the first volume, the volume covering Churchill's youth. And I got it originally because I was reviewing Candace Millard's book, Hero of the Empire, about the same period, about the youth of Churchill. And when I reread it, I realized that I don't have to like Churchill to love a great biography of him, and this is fantastic. It was enjoyable on every page, so I kept it. This time, I'm not going to get rid of it. And then the next one, as long as we're sticking with England, and this is the things close to the royal family, there's Queen Mary by James Pope-Hennessy. A really, really good writer. He's another example of what the book is here because of the writer, although I love the subject too. And I love the design of the paperback as well. Nothing on the front cover, nothing on the back cover. This is the official life of Queen Mary, and he was commissioned to do it and was given unfettered access to the archives and whatnot. And he's a really good writer, but when you write an official life, especially of a royal, it's just assumed that you've got one hand manacled behind you the whole time. And I don't know that there's much truth to that assertion. I've heard it said, but I've read all these books, and every one of their authors says that the people involved, the estate involved, made no demands on me whatsoever, except for the egregious cases where they did, and where there's a lawsuit or there's a scandal in the press. But whether or not it's true, official lives have to hew a certain line of decorum. They have to be, you know, they can't be scandalous in any outright way. And I think there's a trick to reading them. This has got to be the nerdiest book thing I've ever said on this channel. I actually have a sweet tooth for reading official lives, not just of royals, but of anybody. I have a sweet tooth for seeing what a really smart author will do in order to write 2 books at the same time, essentially, to tell the official story in ways that the people watching over his shoulder won't object to, and also to tell maybe an undercurrent of a story that they won't be looking for and so won't see, if that makes any sense at all. I actually have a large, here in this room and elsewhere in Hyde Cottage, I have an extensive collection of official biographies, and I really like reading them. But anyway, the next one is by Edwin Miller, and this is Salem is My Dwelling Place. This is his big biography of Nathaniel Hawthorne. I have many biographies of Hawthorne, and this is my favorite of them all. So this is the one I keep going back to. When I need to reference some detail of Hawthorne's life or of his publication history, usually his publication history, what exactly was the story behind the Marble Fawn or something like that. This is the book I go to, even though I have others. So I thought, you know, next time you see it at the Brad, I'll get it and bring it in here. And then the last book we'll do with for today is a classic. I say I'm a little biased, but it's The Rascal King by Jack Beatty. This is his biography of James Michael Curley, the legendary and legendarily corrupt Boston mayor, who was beloved by the people, elected to one of his terms in the mayor's mansion from prison. And it's a larger-than-life story from beginning to end. Curley lived it that way, and Beatty tells it that way. It's just an amazing, a classic of American political biography. As is also Curley's own book, I'd Do It Again, is an American political biography, the like of which you have not read, and will never read now. But it's just a humdinger of a book. And of course, Curley's famous for being the inspiration for Frank Skeffington in The Last Hurrah by Edwin O'Connor. So there's all sorts of connections there. And that's it. That is the 4th bookshelf of the skinny East Wall bookcase. And we'll move on from here. I'm afraid it's more biographies, but you knew that when you married me. So I'll see you soon, BookTube. Thank you.